The most broken team in college football needs my help, and I have 5 years to get them their first real national championship. What makes a team that's an 84 overall so broken though? Well, after returning almost their entire roster that made it to the Big 12 Conference Championship, they went 3-9 this year, losing their last 9 straight games. And their head coach said fans complaining about it are the ones that can't pay their own bills. The roster I'll be taking over only has 6 players above an 80 overall. But even with Mike Gundy's poor comments and disappointing season, they couldn't fire him. Because before this year, he has had 18 straight winning seasons at Oklahoma State. He had to take a pay cut though, and he hasn't been able to get them a championship. So my one goal in 5 years will be doing that for Oklahoma State. But there's an issue though. Some players like this freshman quarterback wanted to transfer out, and I'm only allowed to recruit in Oklahoma and Texas, but no other states than those. Let's address the main issue right off the rip. We only have 46 players on this roster. We have 45 total team needs. There are so many things we have to fill. And whenever you're limited to just a couple states, your options are extremely limited, but I have been able to find some interesting prospects. Trey Almaz could come in as a quarterback with 90 speed, 95 acceleration, and then we could get him 2 great receiving targets, one being this tight end with 86 speed, the other being this receiver with 98 speed. But we have to land them as this season goes on, and I have made sure to put the Bedlam back on the schedule. I don't care if they canceled it in real life. We're playing Oklahoma every year. We also have to play Oregon. And if you've ever seen a rebuild of mine, I can only hop into 3 games every season. It is going to force me to actually develop this roster, build a good one right here, because I can guarantee this is far from an 84 overall. And at least for the next few seasons, I think we have a decent option at quarterback. Smith is an 80 overall sophomore, but after that, we have nobody. That's the rundown for Oklahoma State. Against the Ducks, we only put up 3 points. And you best believe that we're going to do our best to just take down Oklahoma. They are currently a pain to us. They're probably going to steal both of these gym 4-star tackles that I would have loved to land. But maybe, just maybe, we can convince them to become a Cowboy if we're able to go out there and take down the Sooners. I still don't understand why after 117 years you would stop playing this rivalry. But the more this goes on, the more I'm seeing how lopsided it really is. We've done nothing versus the Sooners. And the offense that we are currently working with might go down as the worst one in college football. We have had like no success until this play. I just want to get a few points versus them. I'm going to send up some bombs just so we can get a little bit closer. But Smith has already thrown 2 interceptions in this game. He's not really fast enough to scramble, and that could have been a third. Here we go. It is the final play of the game. I just want to do something. We got to get rid of it, and it's not going to work. I wasn't kidding when I titled this video the most broken team in college football. And 5 years is a short time to turn around the Cowboys whenever a lot of players are still threatening to transfer. In fact, I can't even guarantee that we're going to beat Tulsa when we sim this. And if I want any chance at landing any recruits, we're going to have to start getting up to tier 3, always be recruiting. It is the best thing that you can get out of the recruiter skill tree. It might not have been worth it though. It didn't save us on either of these offensive linemen. The star tight end that I wanted is now considering SMU, just like this receiver. And every single one of the hard sells that I've had to make this season has had at least 1 bad grade in our school with it. We ended up losing by 21 points at home to Tulsa. And I feel like we have got to go for our first win of the season. This is unacceptable. In the 20 years that Mike Gundy's been at Oklahoma State, he has literally had just 2 total losing seasons. And that's why, like I said, it is crucial that we play well in this game. We're up 14-7 at the moment, but I'm going to be aggressive. We're going for it on this 4th and inches, and we are going to pick it up. That is all that we needed to move the chains. This is going to be a touchdown. But with about a minute left on the clock, we're only up by a point, and this 3rd and 7 does not work. I am afraid that we might have choked this game away. If the punt is at least good, I think we're going to be able to rely on our defense. And here we go. Our first win of the season is on the line at the moment. They are trying to sling it over our DB's head, and that's what they've done. How have we let them burn us with 2 dudes dropping back? There are crimes I want to commit. I mean, I'm wearing the prison jumpsuit, and I'm not sure why I have this, but it's the only thing that represents Oklahoma State. I'm pretty sure I got it from home field. They have some sick stuff. They get the 2-point conversion, though. And we don't have very long to respond back, especially like that. I mean, our offensive line could literally not be playing worse. At least we had enough time to get this one off. But now we're under 30 seconds left in this game. We're going to hit our slant. Nope, it's out of reach. In order to avoid losing my mind, though, I'm going to have a moment of gratitude. A lot of you all have been sending me DMs. It shows your top creators for the year. And I haven't been able to get back to everybody, but thank you all so much. I mean, there are so many of you that I'm like the #1 creator. I'm in the top 1%. You all are dedicated. And it makes me very happy I can be there to make a bad day better. Now, I was hoping for the touchdown. I'm going for the aggressive catch here. We need something to go our way. And it did, so don't count us out of this game yet. We have 1 more shot to the end zone. We're going to hit our crosser. Nope. That should have been the final play, but since our left tackle did a worse job than I would have done at 170 pounds, we have one more chance, and I know that we have to at least get this ball off. We don't. We gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter. We were going to beat the Wildcats. And the only reason Doug Naylor probably even committed to this team is because he's from Oklahoma. Everybody else has pretty much given up on us, though. The quarterback I thought we were going to land, Texas just swooped in on that. Oklahoma steals more and more prospects. SMU is also in the running for him. And I can't even blame those kids. I would not commit to a school that right now looks like they could go 0-12. I can only hop into one more of these matchups, and it's going to be against Houston. If I had to guess, they're going to be at the bottom of the Big 12 with us at the end of the season. So it's time to start simming, and we have picked up another 4-star prospect from Oklahoma. After losing to UCF, though, I feel like we have found our perfect match against 0-5 Kansas. Except, here's the thing. Not only did we lose to Kansas, but we have continued to lose every single game. At this point in the dynasty, Oklahoma State is on a 19-game losing streak. And it's going to become 20 because 10-0 Kansas State is not going to lose to 0-10 us. Houston's not even at the bottom of the Big 12. That's the final game that I'm going to play. And our entire recruiting board is basically just full of the losses that we've had throughout the season. There has been a ton of them. I don't know what else we can do, though. Every time we hard sell on prospects, schools like Oklahoma and SMU just jump us no matter how good they are. And there's very limited prospects from Oklahoma and Texas that I can actually go after. Right now, we have to target these 3 stars and hope that they develop to actually be good. But this year has been a bad one, and I'm sure that more players are just gonna leave. I feel so hopeless. The main key to success in a 5-year rebuild is having a good recruiting class in that first period. But we haven't done that. We haven't even been able to win a game, and I cannot believe that those stands are kind of full. After rubbing the believe on the tunnel, you would think that we'd come out playing a bit better. But going into this fourth quarter, we're down by 10, and I'm afraid that they're gonna get in right here, pretty much just ending our chance of winning. I can't believe how terrible this offense has really been. I mean, we need to get some big plays, that's caught. But I don't think there's one specific player to blame. I'm pretty sure it's just all been bad. There's only going to be 3 minutes left on the clock, even if that gets us in, and I threw it straight at the defender. I'm a problem too. You put me on Heisman mode with this broken program, this is the result that you're going to get. I don't know how we're going to save this team in the next 4 years. And you best believe that we are clearing the house. We are currently on a 21-game losing streak. Up until the last few years, Mike Gundy had full control of this program. And I don't know what it is about free safeties, but we've signed like our third 4-star there. So much for playing in the Big 12 and playing against a weaker schedule. We are all the way down there at the bottom of the standings. At the top of it, there's Kansas State and Iowa State. But since the Cyclones lost the conference championship, they fell just short of the playoffs. I'm already very upset on early national signing day because we can see player dev traits in the bottom right corner. And look at this 3-star gym running back I found. He has 93 speed, elite development, and guess who stole him from us? Oklahoma. They came in on so many prospects at the last second, so this is what we're stuck with. We don't have a single player with better than impact. Everybody is normal impact until him. And normally, for one of my coordinators, this would be a perfect hire. Jeremiah Coffey fits most of what I'd want, but I think we have to get a tactician in here just to help out our overall. Then on the other side of things, I'm going to get the mix of a tactician and a recruiter, which I think is going to be a good combo, but he could have accepted a job at Notre Dame. I don't know why you'd choose to be our defensive coordinator instead, but I feel like going into next season, we should be a little bit better. And 4 years from now, we need to be the ones taking home the title. The roster is just going to continue to get worse, though. Our best wide receivers transferring out. A bunch of sophomores are also leaving because of coach prestige. And then when it comes to the seniors graduating, they weren't that good, so I'm not upset about that. I really can't blame anybody for going, though. Our sophomore quarterback was very disappointing on offense. He also led the team in rushing yards. That's ridiculous. There is nothing positive to see here. If I was Tay Lin, I definitely would have transferred too. And we need this transfer portal to save us. But remember, we can only go after prospects from Texas and then Oklahoma, where the state of Oklahoma has just one prospect available. Texas is a little bit different, though. I think we're going to be able to find multiple useful players throughout the state. And to be honest, even if we only can get 1 year out of most of these 3 stars, we need all the help that we can get. For a little bit, I actually thought that I was going to get every single transfer to sign, but as we go into this final week, I'm pretty sure we're going to lose at least a couple. But that's okay, because either way, we've definitely added to our depth. The only player we didn't get played linebacker. He would have only been with the team for 1 year, so I'm perfectly okay with that actually. And this is the one quarterback that we signed, but I don't think he's ever going to do much for us. I just wanted to make sure that we got as many players from Oklahoma and Texas as we could. We got the number 35 class. And that's certainly not going to win us any championships, but it can allow us to build this team up a little bit better. There are literally only 2 running backs on the roster though, so we're in a bit of trouble. Especially because even if I wanted to, it's not letting us move any wide receivers over because we don't have enough of those either. My only random thought is taking Dylan Smith, a safety, and just hoping that he progresses a ton in the offseason. But that didn't really work out. He's only a 66 overall at this position, and the rest of our team is just an 82. I'm not sure why Oklahoma State thought it'd be a good idea to ever lock in games with Oregon consistently, but we're gonna have to play them again this year. I also have to replace the Georgia Tech one with the Oklahoma game. I am not getting rid of the Bedlam. I refuse to. But things are still setting up to be a disaster. We have 38 team needs. There's only 60 players on the roster. That means there's 25 open roster spots. And some of our school grades couldn't get any worse. This is what is holding us back from signing some of the better prospects. There's literally no future at any position on this roster besides maybe wide receiver because we had a couple good freshmen come in. And I think I'm gonna have to start strategically using some of our red shirts. That last season was definitely not how I wanted things to go, but we are going to try and go after 2 different 5-star gym quarterbacks from the state of Texas. Our odds of landing them probably aren't that high, but we only have 500 hours to spend a week this year, so I'm also gonna have to go after some 3-stars just so we have some other players in case those don't go well. And there's some occasional talent mixed in, but I don't want to get too deep into it because there's a good chance they're just gonna say they don't want to come here. What I do want to focus on is breaking this 21 game losing streak. It cannot continue to go this way. It very well could though. We have not been able to do much versus Tulsa. And here in the third quarter with it tied up at 10-10, we just avoided the safety, but they're still going to get this ball around midfield. It's really been a defensive showcase for both of these teams. We're trying to get in some pressure, we do. But one thing I've learned in these first couple seasons is I am not a huge fan of the Oklahoma State playbook. It's probably just the coach suggestions that don't seem to be good. But that's all I use, and on 4th and 1, we cannot afford to not get this. I feel like if anything, I improved this offensive line last season. Those are the types of players that committed. But they're so young that we can't have any expectations for them yet. To make matters even worse, they had a false start before the next play. So we went from being in field goal range to pretty much being out of it, and that throw is tipped. We are fighting so hard to avoid our 22nd straight loss. Right here, we're getting in again. No, their quarterback's still up. I could tell he was about to break it. That is ridiculous. At least we get this ball at midfield. Great blocking, boys. All it took was a couple bad offensive plays, and it's 3rd and 14. Again, I need enough time to get this one off. They're hitting us, and we pretty much have to trust our defense. It is a battle of the field positioning at the moment. If this punt at least pins them out at the 15, that's decent. But what would be super huge for us is if we could force an interception, and we just got lucky. They literally threw that ball off of their lineman's head. We can definitely knock that out. And neither of these two offenses want to score to end this game. I can assure you, I have absolutely zero confidence in our abilities to get anything done right here. And sure enough, here we go. It is 3rd and 10, halfback angle route, completely stuck on the defensive lineman. I was going to throw it to him, and I was just staring it down, waiting for him to get free. At least this punt should bounce far again. I mean, we're just going to have to go back to defense. There is absolutely zero reason that we should be as bad as we are here in year number 2. That's such a perfect pass that there was no chance we could get back to it. I have been trying all game for somebody to get open. I've lost all hope. We're going to just send it up. We have the size advantage right here. And this is such a sad moment for this team. I don't believe that we have the arm to even make this throw. We don't. There is nothing left positive to say about this Cowboys roster. Here is our last chance at beating Tulsa. Once again, nothing. And we have lost the Turnpike Classic 2 years in a row. Do you all realize how hard it's going to be for me to convince either of these 5-star quarterbacks to play for us? I don't care if we have a lead now. This is not lasting. And I feel like the only way it does is if we can win one of these rivalries. This is just going to be an uphill battle though. And a game as big as this one has a special sponsor, DoorDash, who's also the sponsor of this video. Some of you know that about a week ago I got super sick. I lost my voice, but what you don't know is I was so thankful for DoorDash because any needs that I had, I was able to find on their app. I'm glad that we live in a world where you can get anything that you need to your door, and if you want it, DoorDash can deliver it. When I got hungry, there were so many options for me to choose between, and I'm a map guy, so I like to see what's close to me too. The barbecue definitely stood out though, and whenever you submit an order on the app, it'll tell you how long it's going to take to get to your place. DoorDash's retail and grocery sections were also a lifesaver since I was too sick to go anywhere. But don't get me wrong, I was very familiar with all of it already because I use it whether I'm sick or not, and that's because you simply can't can't go wrong with it. Anyway, DoorDash is your door to more, so download the DoorDash app to get almost anything delivered. And if you use code BORD2024, you'll get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more, which is a limited time offer, so take advantage of it. And now we can return to the rest of this video. Going into this game, I can tell you right now, I do not believe. But if we somehow won the Bedlam, that would be hilarious because we're in a terrible spot. The main issue is literally our offense though. We have done nothing. I can only get so many defensive stops. Oklahoma would finally reach the end zone. Now we have to try and pick up this 4th and 10. But that didn't work out. There was no way that we were going to come back from there. And this series has been pure domination for the Sooners. All I can really do from here is just hope that we win one game in sim. But either way, on the more positive side of things, we are signing some 3-stars, which is good. Now you might not think, with this many players wanting to transfer, surely we lost to Texas Tech. Especially since they were ranked as a top 25 team, but it doesn't matter. Our first win in like 2 years, and it's by 24 points. I don't know what clicked in Maya Lockie Smith's brain, but he was thrown for 5 touchdowns, 300 yards. And it's almost been a blessing he hasn't been that good, so I don't have to try and pronounce his name, but he's starting to play better. Looking at his skill caps as well, you can see he has plenty of room to grow, but we're about to play 3 straight road games in conference play. And that's why most of our focus here in season number 2 is still going to be on recruiting. It's not exactly going the best though, because like expected, Texas is going to take this 5-star, and then for the other one, other schools are catching up. But I think we have a real chance to sign Tobin if he just commits this next week. I'm even going to schedule him for a visit that he's not going to make it out to. That can give you the short-term bump to win the battle, which is exactly what happened. But at the same time, I can confirm that we have lost this battle to Oklahoma. I mean, they're going to take pretty much anybody that we want. And then with these 2 quarterbacks, we're not going to get a chew, but I've taken a big risk on Hood because we can't ever hard sell him. We've got to schedule him for a visit. It's against number 7 Oregon. And by the time that we get to that game, I'm sure we're going to be severe underdogs. Since we're obviously so bad, I think the only way we could get him to commit is if we won that game, though it's still a couple weeks away. And the problem is during that time span, I'm afraid that TCU is just going to take him. Well, it's gotten to the time where I should be hopping into this game against the Ducks trying to beat them. But there's no reason to. We've officially lost out on the other 5-star gym. I was hoping I could sign one. Now we are left with this 3-star bust, but his stats are alright. I'm very limited in the quarterbacks that I can go after, and I'm telling you, I've scouted pretty much every option there is. But the state of Texas has a lot of prospects, so I've not given up, and we have found a couple other decent options. As for our game against the Ducks, there was no real reason to play it, and I'm putting a lot of stock in how good this recruiting class is into these 2 4-stars. It would elevate our line play on both sides of the ball. That's all I really have to be excited about. As we continue to sim through games, I know we're not winning. Well, it looks like David has made the right decision. We needed that for our defensive line, and so did Nick, the 97 speed corner. I'm also starting to feel a little bit better about quarterback DeMarcus Coxey. He is 89 speed, and he comes out of Duncanville, Texas. They produce some amazing talent. The real question though is, are we going to sign this 4-star center? He is coming on a visit for this week against Colorado, so we have a reason to play that one, and I'm proud to say that we took down Kansas. That means we already have 2 wins this year. I know that if you're an Oklahoma State fan, you would not be happy if the next 2 seasons have gone how these have, but all I can do is just try and elevate this program from here. Now, I haven't been able to win a single game that I've hopped into myself. That is my goal in this one. They're going to be on a 4th down, and they got the quick snap off before I could set a quarterback spy or anything. They have a completion. They're still down by 6. I really don't want to fall to Deion Sanders in Colorado though. We're already having so many players want to transfer, and if they beat us, they might just transfer there. Now, we have been given what should be plenty of time to respond. I actually think that we have beat them deep. That's the first good throw I've seen in a long time with this team, and I'm going to run out the rest of the clock. I thought that was going to be way harder. All we have to do is make sure that this kick is going to be centered right up the middle, and this is a 24-yarder. We're not going to miss it. The number of fans attending our games have definitely dwindled down a little bit. You could see it in the stands, but there's also a lot that are full, and I'm hoping that this is some progress going into season 3 so we have a lot more success. I was about to disregard the prison rain jacket, say it was bad luck, but no, we have signed the 4-star center, and somehow we were able to finish 12th in the Big 12. We've also been able to put together a pretty good recruiting class in my opinion. On early national signing day right here, we have 15 prospects signed already. There's a star on a receiver, and we also have star on an elusive back. We'll see the 2 quarterback options. We have impact for both of them, unfortunately, and for the 4 stars, it is impacts until there's star on another receiver. I think between the guys at this position that we're about to bring in, and then the couple of guys that we recruited last year, we're going to be fine. But that doesn't cover the rest of the team. Whenever it comes to our best receiver this year, pretty much everybody at the top 3 was tied, but the freshman did play pretty well. And then we gave Sessi pretty much all of our carries, but he is a deal breaker, so he could transfer out. At quarterback, Smith got a little bit better, but I still can't guarantee he's going to be our starter transfer as a senior. And it's the Ducks that were able to win it all this year, so I hope they're not on our schedule for a third season in a row. We're definitely about to have some more losses though. 5 of our juniors, 5 of the older starters on this team are leaving us, including our running back. And then most of the guys that graduated were also out there on the field, so we're gonna have to have a huge transfer portal period. I don't have that much control over which transfers will actually consider our school though. From the state of Texas, it looks like we can go after 5 prospects, none of them from Oklahoma. And I just have to hope that I've distributed our 750 hours a week properly, because right now we have a whole second half of this recruiting class that we're trying to bring in. 16 players being signed isn't bad, but I'm trying to bring that total up to 30. And if I want any chance of getting this transfer quarterback, I'm gonna have to guess his hard sell correctly, but there's 2 options that it could be. Sometimes that's not enough though. We lost this 3-star Jim to UTSA with a perfect hard sell. We are actually in first place for Cole at the moment. But in 1 week, all that can change because we dropped down to 3rd place and Arkansas got him. We still signed a majority of the players that we wanted to get though. This transfer right in that is only a freshman actually has star dev too. So that's a big addition for this class, but this one's ranked a little bit lower than the last one. I think that's because we didn't sign as many 4-stars this year, but as you can see, that transfer freshman is rated above some of the other 4-stars. And it's basically guaranteed we're going to have him for the rest of the rebuild unless he transfers again. Now, one thing I did do this season was I stockpiled on athletes, so we're going to get to move them around, see what the best quarterback options are. And sometimes you just have to check what happens if you change certain players' positions, because we could get a plus 11 overall jump moving Jonathan Hall around. I'm really not sure if this is going to be worth it or not, but our fastest receiver, the freshman Khalil Tobin, I am moving over to running back because he goes up to a 79. And I have to say, I'm pretty happy with how our players seem to be progressing. Smith jumped up to a 91 overall. I just processed that in my brain. But I'm confused what happened to our left outside linebacker that I moved over here. He also became like a 91. I just realized it's because Jonathan Hall was out of the transfer portal. Change those positions on your players though, because he went all the way up to a 92 as a transfer. That is a remarkable jump. We got super lucky with him. He's probably going to get drafted. And can we talk about how Smith has not had a good career at all, but he has just shot up in overall and his accuracies actually look good. This team is no longer that bad. Rodney Fields Jr., I redshirted the 5'9" running back last season. He is super fast. He also has sidestep, takeoff, and shifty. But even without Oregon on our schedule this season, Oklahoma State must have one of the harder non-conference schedules in the future because they have number 3 Clemson on here. And that's not going to be a fun game for us to play. We're probably going to have to sign one more recruiting class of about 30 players just based off of our team needs. And between Oklahoma and Texas this time around, there's only 2-star, 4-star quarterbacks or higher for us to go after. Unless one of them ends up being a Jim or something, I think we're going to stick with DeMarcus Coxey. Looking at his stats, his accuracy skill caps are not bad at all. This guy is the future. It's probably not even worth putting hours into this kid, but that's what we have done. We're also going to go after a receiver. We always do. He has takeoff. That's interesting. Besides that, 4-star Jims. I mean, the tight ends are needed. But at the end of the day, if we don't sign either of these guys, we'll just convert a wide receiver over there. What I learned from taking a deeper look at our roster is most of the players that we already have are probably going to start for us on our championship team. So they should at least be able to figure out how to beat Tulsa. That is step 1. There is no reason we should lose this season. I mean, the real difference maker between this year and last year is we're actually getting defensive stops alongside moving the ball offensively as well. We've outscored them 21-3. We're about to make it 28-3. But this shouldn't be a surprise. We have a 91 overall quarterback. I think we could have a lot of success in the Big 12. And it even pains me to say that we gave up a touchdown at the very end. Either way, it was inexcusable we were losing this game before. And it took longer than it should have, but we have redeemed ourselves. We've also gotten rid of pretty much everybody that still wants to leave the team. There's only 2 players that are threatening to transfer. And if we lose either of them, it's not a big deal, but I think we do need to sim against Arkansas. They had the home field advantage. They were much higher overall, but I think we might have come out on top. Never mind, we lost by 3 points, but we put up a pretty good fight. And due to that, I feel pretty confident we can handle West Virginia. That was not the case though. We had another close loss, so we fall into 1-2, and I have to decide what other 2 games I want to hop into this regular season. My hope is we're able to make it to a bowl game this year, and when it comes to recruiting, signing one of these 4-star tight ends, I think we're going to be okay if we schedule one for a visit. And that's all that it took. During the bye week, we have picked up our first commitment. It'd also be amazing if we somehow won this game, but it's not going to be a big deal if we lose, because no part of me thought we were beating Clemson this year, but once again, we've been able to keep them tight. This is where I think it's important to step in though, so we can start to build up a little bit of momentum. And at the moment, Cincinnati hasn't lost a Big 12 game, but they've also only played one of them. If we went on a little bit of a run, we could find ourselves in the conference championship. But a lot of that is out of my control. It has to do with sim. I also have to say, I like the playbook a lot more now that this this team plays better. Things actually seem to go our way. We're going to have our drag route open for the opening touchdown. And he might not be the #1 receiver right now, but Doug Naylor should be in a couple of seasons. He might even get a look another time that we're in the red zone, though instead we took our drag. And here we go, 3rd and goal. I would normally scramble in this situation, but we can't. With our lefty kicker, though, we should be able to hit this pretty easily. And I know we looked pretty good, but I am shocked at how we have run away with this one in the 3rd and 4th quarters. I mean, they're not picking up this 3rd and long. So all they can do is hope that this 4th and 9 goes their way, so there's still a slight chance that they can come back, but that's not happening. I mean, they're going to get a touchdown, but they spent all game trying to get just one. And it's weird how everything has changed since last season. I was shocked that that team was capable of winning 3 games, but now the expectation is we are making a bowl. And it's not taken much for us to actually start signing some more 4-stars. We're literally just 2 and 3, but we have already brought 3 of them in. That's as many as we signed last season. We're also in the running to sign at least a couple more, even a 5-star right tackle. But I think if all that's going to happen, we're going to have to win on the road against Baylor. Thankfully, we came out on top of this one. We won by 2 possessions. And I can still hop into one more game this season where I think it's going to be against a team like number 13 BYU. That could be for a spot in a conference championship. That's what's on my mind at the moment. You could say there's technically a 9-way tie in the loss column for first place in the Big 12. And we signed another player from Duncanville, Texas, a 4-star running back, 91 speed, but the update on the 5-star is Oklahoma's taking a lead, and they also took the quarterback. Going up against them, that almost feels inevitable, but it just hit me. I left the bedlam off our schedule this season. Oh well, we did not need to lose it again. We have picked up the 4-star male linebacker. And Glenn Wade might make for an amazing user. He's a gym. He is 91 speed. Of course, this is the final result on the 5-star we were targeting. And I might just keep the rest of this class pretty small, going after these 4 and 3 stars, and then we'll go to the transfer portal for more players. Now, simming a couple weeks into the future, I was not expecting to see this stat line out of Trey Griffiths. But of course, that means we had to pull off a win. We beat TCU, though we lost to Iowa State the week before. We have 4 games left on our schedule now. If we simply win 2 of them, we are bowl eligible. And it's going to be hard to decide which one of those games I want to play, but we should be able to handle Arizona. I was confident, and it paid off, all because of 17 points in the 4th quarter. But now we have to take a deep look at these conference standings because we have both Utah and BYU on our schedule. If we want to have any shot at making the Big 12 Conference Championship, we're going to have to beat Utah. So what we're going to do is we're going to sim this one, play the Utes next week. But if we lost to BYU, we're not going to play that one either. It's a good strategy, especially because we have come out on top. And what did I say? If we want to make it to the Big 12 Conference Championship, we have to take down the Utes. They're currently sitting at 9 and 1, so it's not going to be easy, especially on the road. But this is what we've wanted, and it's remarkable that we're in this spot, especially after how the last 2 years have gone. I mean, you have to keep in mind, next year might be a down year, and that's because we're going to have a sophomore quarterback, so we have to take advantage of this, though they're playing good D. Assuming we hit this field goal, it's going to be our first points of the game, though we are going to hook it to the right. And I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Our next drive, we're going to get 3. The problem for us has been, though, Utah continues to get points to stay ahead. And that's why we're very fortunate. With a minute left in the 3rd quarter, we could tie things up, which we're doing. It wasn't easy to fight our way in there, but we did. And the stakes for this game are so high. I'm hoping that we can stop them on this 3rd and 8. I can't believe they decided to run. I set up our pass defense because I thought that's what they would do. They've done a halfback screen on 3rd and 8. We whiffed a tackle, but it's fine. Except they're feeling very aggressive. I'm sensing a handoff here. We're going to stack the box. They're throwing it instead. And we've got to make sure they don't get a 4th and 1. They'd eventually score a touchdown out of that. We were so close to getting them off the field. I doubt we're going to hold on there. And this is a really big 3rd and inches. They are going to use play action, though, so we cannot let them catch this football. That was a big moment in this game. We're able to get the ball back right here. And with just 2 minutes left on the clock, I think we might have a touchdown deep. It seemed like we beat the press off of the line, but they got back to it. That's the thing with these receivers. Every single one of them is 93 speed, but sometimes it's just not enough. It'll look like they're about to dust somebody, but they really won't. This is going to be match coverage, which is crazy that we caught that. And I threw it before I realized it was match coverage. I thought it was man-to-man. Now we're going to step up and see how far we can run. It's kind of gross whenever your starting quarterback is literally getting caught up to by somebody that is on the defensive line, but it is what it is. We've managed to take down a lot of clock in this process, so they're not going to be able to respond. And I think I might even go for the 2-point conversion, though maybe we should play this for overtime. It'll all depend what I'm feeling in the moment. We have our hitch route. That should be a touchdown. There it is. Coach suggestions are saying we should go for it though. And I'm gonna listen. We have a gaping hole right there that we should be able to take. This was an RPO though, and I don't want to have to see an instant replay, but I made the wrong read. Every time I've called a play like that recently, the tight end gets boxed up. They're snagging it out of the air. We're not even going to have a chance. I should have at least looked in his direction. I thought our running back was going to get a bigger burst off of the line than he did right there. But I'm not too upset. This is just year 3 of a 5-year rebuild, so we still have 2 more chances to win the Big 12. To end the regular season, we're going to beat Kansas 30-24. And aside from Burfict choosing Baylor over us, we've been doing a pretty good job getting these 4 stars to come in, though we just can't close the battle on this wide receiver. We didn't necessarily need Grubber, but it would have been nice for extra depth. And at this point, I thought I'd be firing our coordinators so we could get some new ones in here that are tacticians, but both of them pretty much already have all that full. We're getting some good stat boost from them. I did go down this motivator path a little bit. I haven't fully maxed it out yet, but we are going to right here to make sure our quarterbacks start the 4th quarter hot. And the architect tree is something that could also be unlocked if we just win one more rivalry game. When it comes to the conference champion, it seems like Utah did end up winning it all. So I feel pretty good about our close loss to them. DJ Lagway won the Heisman. It is time to see our bowl opponent, Stanford. They went 8-4, we went 7-5. They averaged 8 more points per game than us, so that reminds me I gotta check our season stats. And I was never expecting Smith to play this well, but he did have that big boost in the offseason. Due to Rodney Fields Jr. getting injured at one point as well, we ended up leaning on Khalil Tobin, the freshman, more than I thought. And of our top 4 main receiving targets, all of them are sophomores besides Trey Griffiths, who had the best season by far, 15 touchdowns. That's exciting stuff, but I really wish he had more than just one season left with us. And I'm really hoping that we can get the kid his first bowl win at Oklahoma State. This is not the position that I want to be in though. At the moment we find ourselves down by 14 points. Cahill is getting a little bit loose, but we have a lot of work to do if we're going to take down Stanford, and we got to aim to the sidelines right here. Good catch. I wish we'd play a little bit better so there wasn't always so much pressure whenever there's only a few minutes left. But at least Cameron Hurd was able to get open for a touchdown. It's really all about getting the ball back though. They're going to run the ball on 2nd and 8. And here we go. This is a pretty huge 3rd and 7, though it seems like they are going to be throwing the rock. We have everything locked up with our zones as long as we generate some pressure, and we're going to snag the interception with Jones right here. I don't think he is fast enough to outrun him, but that is what you want to see right there. Maybe the Pop-Tarts Bowl is actually going to be ours. That throw with the dude in his face does not matter. Doug Naylor is putting him to sleep. We just tied it up. And all we need is the Stanford quarterback to make one more mistake, which he almost did. They better not think that they're in field goal range, though, with that catch. They do. There's nothing that we can do. They started running it at the 41, and we only have 1 timeout. I'm not sure why they even used one. We all know that they're trying to settle for 3. They're getting another first. And I've tried to ice them, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. This is another really disappointing loss, though we're going to try our best to hope that this ball is put in the right spot. Maybe we can get a tip, and I'm surprised they only had 2 players back there, but it ended up working. It is what it is. We gave up almost 400 passing yards to this junior, so we got some work to do. We're still pretty far away from being a contender, but Utah won it all. I mean, we were 1 point away from beating them at their place, and they did that, so that just shows we were very competitive, but we're losing a few players to the NFL. And it took us a while, but we finally got our pro potential grade to go up again. It is time we have a new quarterback be the face of Oklahoma State football, though. I mean, I am very impressed with all the improvement, but it wasn't enough to even get us a conference championship. We do have some 4 stars on our board, and lucky for us, all 4 of them are from Texas. They could end up being some huge additions for us. They should all come in as seniors, but there's no guarantee that we pick up all of them. We are going to end up getting at least 2. That's what I want to see, and the 3rd and 4th are also coming in. We literally just got every 4-star transfer on our board, and this is going to be our highest ranked recruiting class yet. It comes in at number 23. I said that we needed to do well in the transfer portal, that I wanted this to be our last main one, and I can't believe some of the players that we just brought in. Jakyle Baker has some amazing abilities. Then at free safety, Aaron Flowers has 98 speed, and he's the perfect fit for this team since Tim Cherry, our 85 overall junior at free safety, has a PCL tear and he's out for 27 weeks. Player progression is what really matters, though. Of course, the transfers unfortunately can't show up here, but Tobin's already become a 90 overall running back as a sophomore. And then at quarterback, things are a little bit more disappointing, but DeMarcus Cox, he's starting for us as a 76. What we really need to see out of him is his accuracy's going up. I'm pretty sure he filled up at least a couple skill caps this year. And since we only have 9 seniors going into season 4, the only players I'm putting on this board are 5 stars. But that was assuming we even had any in the states we're recruiting in. Oklahoma has the #1 player in the country. he's a wide receiver, and then in Texas, this is the most 5 stars the state has had by a large margin. At least when it comes to players that we might go after. I mean, Morgan Prescott would probably get on the field for us next year. Romeo Vincent might even be our quarterback as a true freshman. So we'll see what happens with those 5-star gyms. Bedlam's going to be difficult this year. We also have Alabama on our schedule, number 8 Utah, number 11 Colorado. I mean, it keeps getting harder. But I feel like our roster this season is good enough to handle a game like this, so we will see what happens on the road against the Sooners. This is how the new era of our quarterback is going to start at Oklahoma State. And I'll tell you something right now, with 2 super good wide receivers, we've been able to move the ball effortlessly. We have pretty much everything out there that we would need to have a super successful offense. And we've put up 28 points in just the first half. The thing is, with our current receiving core, we have so many options to go to. They're getting very open. And this should have been a touchdown right here. I swear he got a foot in. Sure enough, the refs reviewed it. I didn't even need to challenge it. And I know that our defense has been far from perfect in this game, but holding the Sooners to 23 points is pretty good if we could just get a little bit of pressure from our defensive line right here. This is actually turning out to be a great way to open up the year. And I sure hope that Oklahoma's not overrated, because if they're not, we're about to have a really good season. I told you we were going to take the Bedlam seriously this time. We're not losing another one. And from this point, DeMarcus Coxey can only get better. I do wish that we could have gotten him a year sooner in this 5-year rebuild. There's probably no reason to go after these 5-star quarterbacks now. And I think the only games that we're going to hop into this season are going to be against ranked opponents. That could be seen as a mistake though. West Virginia beat us by 3 points. And we're about to have another test on the road at Tulsa. Surely we don't drop this as well. There we go. We did what we were supposed to, winning this by 24. But I'll tell you what, even though Alabama's 0-2, I'm very nervous about playing them. Going into this matchup, they are the higher overall. And if we were going to come out on top, that is the type of performance from Trey Griffiths that we had to have. I'm still not sure what happened against West Virginia, but clearly it was a fluke. We're playing super well. The next game I'm going to hop into is against number 3 Utah. But before we get to that game, we still have a couple more matchups. And when it comes to these 5-star prospects, we're in first place on all of them, but we're probably only going to sign like 3 or 4. We ended up beating both Baylor and BYU on the road, so we are 5-1 going into this game against the Utes. And our only loss comes to 6-1 West Virginia, who's currently undefeated in Big 12 play. A lot of the 5-stars are on a visit for this game right here, and it's also our chance to prove that we deserve to be in the top 25. So there's a lot that's at stake with this game, and I'm hoping that we can beat them instead of losing by 1. We are going to find ourselves trailing by 13 points though as we start this 4th quarter, so there's a lot of work to do. We pretty much cannot have any mistakes on offense at this point in the game. We have to score on every drive. And crossing routes have been money for us with this team. We're going to throw this one. But where did that kid come from? I swear a second ago he wasn't there. I know that I make some rough reads, but let's be fair there. It looked like he was running man-to-man against number 16. All of a sudden, though, he broke down after I'd already thrown the ball to get this pick. And they have just run out the clock from here. We're finally able to get them off the field. Instead of kicking a field goal, though, they're actually going to run for it on 4th and 1. This is actually a huge chance for us. And there we go. We got the stop. We're still only down by 13. If we score a fast touchdown, we still have 2 timeouts left. I mean, I saw that we beat the press over there. That's a good catch. But it's a shame it took almost the entire game for our go routes to work against them. It does again. We are still capable of coming back and winning this one, but we have to be able to stop the run. What are we doing? That was embarrassing from our defense right there. We just couldn't make a tackle. I'm not even sure if there's an opportunity for us at this point. But with them set up to take a knee, I think we're going to get like 1 play. There's not even a purpose in trying to return the punt. And here we go. Number 3 team. We are at home. We just need something to go our way right here. I'm throwing this up. We're going for the catch. And it looks like Trey Griffiths was able to bring this ball in, but he dropped it. That means it's going to be a lot more challenging for this one to actually work out for us. I got to at least make a throw. And there it is. Utah's able to take us down by 1 possession again. There's no excuses for that, though. We had a slow start offensively. And of all the 5-stars that we're going after, we ended up signing just 3 of them. It is so funny what a quality loss can do for you on this game, though. After a bye week, we find ourselves inside the top 25. There is no way that we just moved up the rankings with a loss. I will take it. Now we're playing at Colorado. But we almost have to write off our chances at making it to the Big 12 Conference Championship because we already have 2 conference losses. Winning out, though, would put us into the playoffs, and I can still hop into one of these matchups. I think it has to be on the road at 7-1 TCU. I'm excited. I see us moving forward. We should be able to also beat Arizona State. And then against Texas Tech, transfer receiver Jakyle Baker went off for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. We dominated against the Red Raiders, but apparently we only beat the Sun Devils by 1. Now we finish finish the season with 2 games on the road. And if Utah loses their final Big 12 game, we might still be able to make the conference championship. Again, though, we don't need that to make the playoffs. We're currently sitting inside the top 10. SMU's up here. It makes sense. They've stolen a bunch of great recruits from us. And here we go, the final game that we're going to have to sim this season. 24-14. I wish we would have put up some more points, but I will take this result. It means that we fully control our destiny. Though Utah did win, they've locked in their spot in the conference championship. And neither us or TCU can make it, but this is still a super important matchup. I always feel like in these 5-year rebuilds, it takes me up until that 5th season to make the playoffs, but right now it seems like we could do it in year number 4. And then we return pretty much everybody besides 9 seniors, though the problem is a lot of them are starters. Now that read right there was not open. I was kind of just forcing it, hoping for the best. But as you can see, throwing it there didn't work in our favor either. We are going to have a terrible pass on 3rd and long. And if that one was led better, I think we would have had a touchdown because we beat them off the line. Those are the offensive struggles we have dealt with that has made it super hard to keep up with TCU in this matchup. But I don't want to lose all hope yet. With 2 minutes left, we're getting the ball back with 3 timeouts. We have a lot of points that we're going to have to score, but I kind of specialize in these areas right here. That could have been picked. And let's not act like that's something DeMarcus Coxey wouldn't do. He already has 3 interceptions in this game, though we have a free touchdown. And now I want to go for the 2-point conversion. I see no reason to not just get this. All we have to do is stop the run 3 times, and we're going to have a chance to get the ball back against TCU. It was hard to tell where they were going to go there, but we're fine. We just got to keep on sending, and it's working. I think they're going to throw the ball here on 3rd and 10, though. They did not opt to run it, and they have to throw it away. This is why I choose to hop into these matchups, because I know the game pretty well. I feel like I can take control of anything, and we have a decent opportunity to win this right here. They're going with man-to-man coverage. I know that we should be able to beat them deep with Naylor in this situation. He catches the ball. That was an incredible play from him. I don't know about the pass, but DeMarcus Coxey is thrown for over 3,000 yards this year, so we can give him a little bit of credit. Now he is going to run it in. It could be a little bit too soon. They still have enough time to respond, but if they're going to give us a touchdown, we have to take it, and that puts us up. All right, here we go. I've protected the sticks. We're running the cover 4 that I normally like to in these spots, and I just have to make sure that I don't let anything huge happen over the middle of the field. They're just going to go to their check down. They've done that twice now. They've had to use 2 of their timeouts because of it. We are going to force them to throw it out of bounds. But at some point, I might need to call a different defensive play. I'm afraid that the computer is going to pick up on it. They have no timeouts left now. If they get into field goal range right here, that's the only chance they have. But since they didn't, I think we're going to be okay. Assuming that they aren't able to get into the end zone on this play, it is all over. And I'm very surprised the computer didn't just throw that up to the end zone. That's what they normally do in these situations. You know that they're going to do that right here. I mean, that might be one of the weakest arms that I've ever seen. We're getting the interception. This one is over. That clutch comeback is going to make it so we can lock our spot into the college football playoffs instead of missing. We couldn't have done it without Doug Naylor, even though he is our 3rd wide receiver. And even though we didn't make it to our conference championship, we are the highest ranked team in the Big 12. Utah's at number 7, even though they won it. But they're probably going to get a 1st round bye in the playoffs, while we're going to have to play against NC State. That's not the worst draw. If we're able to come out on top of this one as well, we would draw Iowa in the 2nd round. I really like that. And I am a little salty that it took us so long to sign some of these 5 stars, because getting a player like Romeo Vincent would have been even better with his elite depth. This is not to discredit the season that DeMarcus Coxey has had, though. We're just going into the playoffs with a 78 overall quarterback, and you can tell that the last title update has changed these skill caps. I'm not sure if I like the new display them, but I will point this out. 15 interceptions for the sophomore quarterback is only going to get better going into his junior year. He's also had no run game to help him out. I mean, this is not good. Our best rusher has less than 500 yards. And then on the receiving side of things, just like last season, there's not really much of a difference between wide receivers 1, 2, and 3. It is time for the moment of truth, though. Are we going to be able to take down NC State, the 90 overall team? This one might be a little bit tougher than I thought it would be. I didn't know they were capable of building that good of a roster. Normally, it's like an 85 in Dynasty. And I am so sick of having to overcome these huge deficits for this team. We have barely scored against them. We don't have anybody open on this play. And as we start this 4th quarter, unless we play like perfectly, they're pretty much guaranteed to go on to the quarterfinals. I'm really hoping for man-to-man coverage right here, just so our drag can eventually get open. We know that Naylor's quicker, but it took them 4 plays to respond with a touchdown. I might have wasted our best comeback of this season against TCU. It's hard to get multiple of those in a row. And it sure doesn't help when you just stare downfield, hoping to make only the deep reads like this one. We're just gonna need one of those to work out in our favor, though, like this right right here, we have snagged it out of their hands. And there's still 4 minutes left on the clock. This one's not over, even if it's taken us a little bit to get in. I don't know what the plan was there. I think I thought I could just roll out and easily take the touchdown. And it originally said that we got it right here, but I feel like we were short. I think we'll be okay though. Tobin's just gonna carry it in. And this is where our defense can make 0 mistakes. We're gonna have to force a 3 and out, followed by forcing another 3 and out. I've just missed the tackle, and now we're gonna have to knock this kid out of bounds. That at least stops the clock, but we might as well have just gone for the onside kick against them. They also came out in hurry up mode for whatever reason. They're throwing the ball, they're not running it. And we have a huge defensive play coming up. We're in a lot of trouble if the run is not coming here. I am run committing. I've put everybody into the box. They're actually passing the ball, and they have a touchdown. What took me like 5 seconds to process though was this ball was not caught. They dropped it. It doesn't really help us though when they're set up to run it on 4th and 1. They've gone for it. We're in there. Here we go. My comeback hopes are still alive at the moment. That's what I was hoping for, though I'm going down. Pulling off stuff like this is the most enjoyable stuff I can do on Dynasty. I mean, that's a great throw. But it would be so much easier if we just didn't get into these situations in the first place. The reason it's like this though is this team is not necessarily perfect. There's a lot of parts of it that aren't the best. That was a terrible pass. And I thought I could fit it into that space, but we have gotten so lucky. This game is still not over. We're going to have to avoid sacks though. I feel like I'm on NCAA Football 14 just wanting to run 4 verts over and over, but it's actually working out very well for us, and we have made it to the end zone. I don't even know how to say this kid's name. It's like NK Wente. But what I do know about George is we recruited him in season number 1, and he only has like 84 speed. If anything for his last name though, I'd guess you make the K silent, so it's like Nowenti. And we got some more important stuff going on at the moment. We're trying to get the ball back one final time, but they break a tackle, they juke out one of our defenders, and they get the first down. Jaden Scott just secured the win for NC State. After all the work that we just put in, I thought we were about to pull off another comeback. But we didn't. The Wolfpack were a better team. They made it to the semifinals, but Clemson was who won it all. I'm okay with how this season went, though. I mean, we're losing 4 key players that I would have loved to keep around, but there's nothing we can do about it. And keep in mind, 2 of the 3 players that just got drafted, we pulled out of the transfer portal, so I'm hoping we can do that again. I think we're going to have the opportunity. There are players from Texas that are 4 stars interested, just 1 though. The middle linebackers from Missouri, so is this right tackle. And I doubt that Keenan's going to make much of a difference for us, but we signed him alongside a 3-star defensive tackle. When it comes to position changes, we do have a few speed rusher tendency outside linebackers, so we're about to have fun with this. We'll put this kid as a middle linebacker. And the expectation was my user was going to get a huge overall jump like this. We've also seen that on some of these other players, but there's no quarterback up here. This is the one position I was worried about. DeMarcus Coxey's just an 81. And even though his accuracies did go up last season, they didn't change over this offseason, which is probably why he didn't see much of a boost. The goal is always to get this team as high of an overall as we can though, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to max out our offensive line with all of these tactician level ups, and then after doing the same thing for our defensive backs, we can also max out our running backs. I'll still never understand how in some dynasty files my head coach upgrades super quick, and others it's actually slow. Right here, this is the best we've been able to get, and it's taken encouraging quite a few players to transfer, but our overall just keeps on going up. I think we've done pretty well for the 5-year rebuild. The restrictions that we faced in recruiting, though our non-conference schedule, Iowa and Oklahoma both ranked inside the top 10, that's going to be super challenging. So I'm thrilled that the rest of our schedule looks like a cakewalk, and this 5-year rebuild all comes down to one final season, championship or bust. If we simply won in the first round of the playoffs last year, this would have been a quarterfinal matchup. Instead, we're having to play it now. And it's not been easy to move this ball versus the Iowa defense, but I'm hoping we can get the first touchdown in the game right here. We're fighting our way. With efforts like that, I thought by the time we got to the 4th quarter, we'd be in a much better spot, but we're actually down by 3. And it's because the Hawkeyes defense has played us so well in this game. I mean, they're getting in pressure just in time for us to only have to run. I'd much prefer to throw it deep, but we're not necessarily getting the opportunity to do so. And this has kind of turned into one of those situations where we're better off trying to run. There's been some issues with that as well, though. We're on a huge 3rd down that we have got to make sure we pick up. And I'm starting to think we would have been better off just leaving Tobin as a wide receiver due to his limited impact on the ground for us throughout this rebuild. He literally has 20 carries for 60 yards. We're getting more with Roses. And this drive's taken us a little bit longer than I thought it would. There's just 2 minutes left on the clock now. I was going to try and throw the crosser, but at this point in the game, we cannot risk turning the ball over because we probably won't get it back. Ideally, we're going to be able to hit Naylor with this bubble screen right here. The block did not hold. And now the clock is starting to run. I didn't realize that we're going to be down to 13 seconds. I should have called one of our our first timeouts. We basically have 3 plays to get into the end zone. I like the look that we have right here, and Tobin is going to get just enough. It might not have been pretty, but at the very end, we were able to clutch up. We did not leave him enough time to do anything, and that's how you handle business in a road game. We can't afford to lose the ones that I play, because I'm sure we're going to lose at least a couple of them in sim, especially if we're only beating Tulsa by 6 points. For the current number 2 team in the country, that's not ideal, but we're about to play the number 5 team in the country, and this is another opportunity to prove that we should be ranked as high as we are. Last season, we made sure that we handled the Bedlam game with a lot of seriousness. We dominated it, and I think it's safe to say that this year has been no different for us so far, as we're about to go up 17-0. I also know at the beginning of the video, I said that Oklahoma State had never won a national championship, but you can see it behind the end zone. They say that they won one in 1945. I'm not sure if I'd count it or not, and I know it's recognized, but the only reason I'm saying that is in one of the rankings, they finished like 5th in the polls. Basically, there were multiple undefeated teams. They actually had a loss, so I'm not sure why they get to claim it as a national championship. Feels like a UCF situation, though I might be misinformed. And Oklahoma State fans can't be mad at me because we just took down Oklahoma 47-3. We dominated more than ever before. Since our non-conference schedule was so difficult though, we can now only hop into one more game this season, and we have to sim a lot of these Big 12 games. I could pick and choose which one we hop into, but what I'm basically going to do is just sim to the first college football poll, see where we're sitting, and my hope is we only lose like 1. In that time frame, we dropped down from the number 2 team to the number 3 team, but we never lost a matchup. And just recapping the season that we've had so far, our offense has been putting up a decent amount of points, though the game against Cincinnati was pretty close. Based off of the rest of our schedule, the final game I want to play is going to be against Kansas State, obviously, and we have room for error to lose a couple games, but still make the conference championship because everybody else has 2 losses or more. Our best win of the season is going to come against Baylor, 31-0, and there is absolutely zero reason that we should drop this to Texas Tech. It was a little bit tighter, the same score the Cincinnati game, and Kansas State has lost one going into this next matchup, so we should be good to just coast our way to a conference championship. This is still a pretty big game though. It's listed as the game of the week, and I do wish the EA was able to get the college game day licensing into this. If they did it for college football 26, that'd be sick, but that's probably just wishful hoping. I don't know if they'd actually do it, and we can't catch a touchdown. I remember losing a game earlier in this rebuild though, not taking the RPO to our tight end. I think it was on the 2-point conversion against Utah, so it's reassuring to see that it wouldn't have been a free 2-point conversion. We'll hand it off for 6. We've taken the lead. Now the goal is just maintain it, but we would do more than just that. We have run up the numbers in this third quarter, especially on the ground. Coxie is going to spin, and he might just get enough. Basically, any hope that Kansas State had just went completely out the window with how well we performed. And of course, DeMarcus is going to take home player of the game. You can see that after that 2-yard touchdown run, it just went downhill for Kansas State. They only had gotten on the board one more time after it. And now that we have 20 coach points available, I'm actually going to spend them making sure our quarterback gets even better, because this will boost all his stats. It's going to bring DeMarcus Coxie up to an 84 overall. I still wish his accuracies were better, especially on the run and under pressure. But since he's at least quick on the ground, we do have a good enough quarterback to win it all, and our final game of the season is against Houston. You have to assume that we beat them if we're ranked the number 1 team in the country, taking on Iowa State in the conference championship. And it was a tie game going into the 4th quarter, but I guess we took over. We had more total yards of offense, and they had negative rushing yards on 23 carries. That's pretty impressive right there. We're clearly the best team in the Big 12. But unfortunately, even being the number 1 team in the country, we have nobody that's in the running for the Heisman Trophy. I'm okay with that though. Maybe we're going to be overlooked going into the playoffs. And just based off what we've seen in real life, we know that Iowa State can't handle the Big 12 Conference Championship. They didn't just lose to Arizona State, they got their backs blown out, so that's the same expectation in this one as we go up 17-0. DeMarcus Coxie, I was not so sure about him, but he has turned out to be really good. And what did I say about Duncanville, Texas? You can find some of the best athletes in the country there. As we continue to play through this in the 3rd quarter, it's about to be 31-0, and it took Iowa State 4 quarters just to get on the board. When we were really struggling in seasons 1 and 2, I didn't think we were winning this. I thought between everybody transferring out and all the recruiting restrictions, there was no chance that we rebounded and won it all in 5 years. But I've set this team up to do so, and Brian Mama won the best defensive player. We moved him over from outside linebacker. We also had the best running back in the country. It's not 2023 Ollie Gordon stats, but they are pretty decent. And I remember recruiting Caesar Madden just because his last name was Madden. He won the best defensive back. We've deserved to get to this point. NC State is on our side of the bracket. I also see multiple small schools in UAB, UTSA, and Liberty. But I figured that Arkansas would handle the Blazers and we'd be playing them instead. This might be the oddest playoff bracket we have had so far. There is 2 4-loss teams, Wisconsin and Ohio State in the quarterfinals. But you can't really say that there were other teams that were more deserving than them to get in. I'm ready to get those games started, see if I can actually win it all, but first we have to look at our season stats, and that is where we've already seen most of them. But receiving wise, we didn't know who would necessarily be the top target. Again, it's shared between the top three. There's nothing that separates them. We've clearly focused on running the ball more though. That's what's been working for us, averaging 36 points per game this season. And this is where our playoff run starts, in the quarterfinals against UAB. I can't even say I'm necessarily surprised by this score either. I remember we've played UAB in another rebuild before in the playoffs where they gave us a lot of issues. And that's what's happened here. They've just matched up really well against us, though we have the touchdown to tie things up. I feel like we should be able to get them off the field as well. On 3rd and 4 we do. So we should be okay, but seeing us trailing to UAB did not excite me. Now we do have a slight problem. All our players are staring to the sidelines. We cannot audible or anything. We are stuck in this, so we have to burn a timeout right there. And I just have to hope that that doesn't come back to bite us later on in this game, but if we handle business, we shouldn't need it. We have an offense that we like to stick to, basically just having a bunch of 4 verticals out there. If it's man-to-man coverage, we'll go with the scramble. And then we can mix in some speed options every so often as well, though I know there's a bug around some of the pitches, and I'm not sure if it's been fixed. It's been in the game forever, but it's very frustrating whenever your quarterback just pitches it like 10 yards behind, so we'll do some simple handoffs too. Considering UAB's about to burn all 3 of their timeouts, we have pretty much sealed the win, and we're just gonna run out the rest of the clock from here as we settle for a field goal. Now, getting a holding call does not help. I don't want this kick to be difficult, but I think either way we're gonna be okay. The blocks look good, and we'll settle right here. Here we go, a spot in the semifinals on the line. The kick looks good. They're not getting in to block it, and it shouldn't have been that close against the Blazers, but they did take down Arkansas, so maybe UAB is just that good, and I didn't play back. Just seeing how Khalil Tobin's playing now, I can't believe how well Iowa shut him down. And the last thing that I wanted here was having to play against the Buckeyes. I was hoping for a shot to redeem ourselves against NC State, but instead we get 4-loss Ohio State. And you know that with a team like them, their overall is going to be pretty high no matter how good they've actually been. We have come so far though. We cannot let this undefeated season go to waste. And that's what it feels like is happening whenever we find ourselves down by 2 possessions in the 4th quarter of a game like this. You can see that our backup running back is out there on the field at the moment though. We're going to have to make sure they aren't able to bring us down. And we can't let injuries hold back this team. We're going for the corner route. We were hit while throwing it, but it's still a dot. Now this is a tough 2-point conversion to attempt. It wasn't worth it, but they still might not make anything happen with this drive, and on 3rd down they're going to be short of the marker. We've had some offensive struggles on this drive though as well. It's going to be 4th and 6. And I'll admit I panicked right there, but I feel like we have to go for this. Man-to-man coverage, you're not going to stick with him, but they still get the tackle. I went to sim a couple plays though, and look at this. Interception by Adkins. We have been bailed out. But I'm okay with it because until this drive, Khalil Tobin was on the injury report. We were running with a backup running back. It just wasn't working the same. Now, part of that could be because Ohio State's defensive line is just that good, but it's okay. We're going to complete the pass to the red zone. And look at that. Khalil is missing once again. I'm pretty sure he's dealing with some wear and tear effects. Either way though, without our star running back, we're in 5 wide, and we're just going to let DeMarcus Coxey go to work. That was perfect. Now we need the 2-point conversion. Neither of our hitch routes are open, but it doesn't matter. We've already seen this defense force a clutch stop too. I'm hoping that they can get another one right here. That's a great throw on the run. I thought we had them locked up. I mean, we had multiple national defensive winners on this defense. Not a good tackle. And I need these guys to realize there's a spot in the national championship on the line. We cannot be playing poorly like this. Force a fumble or something, please. All the Buckeyes need to send this game to overtime is getting a field goal. I mean, they're going to get another 1st down. They're definitely in range. And it's almost like the bad read simply isn't going to come. We might have to start calling our timeouts, especially if they pick up another 1st down. Yeah, we do. This is where we need to hold them to a field goal. I knew that they probably weren't going to throw it. I'm not sure why that is open, but knocking them out of bounds is a pretty big deal. If their quarterback wants to run, I'm ready for it. Great throw. The pressure is on. 37 seconds and a spot in the national championship on the line. We only have 2 timeouts left. And what that means is I should have been aiming for the sidelines right there. We can't keep on doing stuff in bounds. We had to use one of our final 2 timeouts. There is still 23 seconds left on the clock. That's a great throw, but I just tried to turn the corner for a touchdown instead of running out of bounds there. It's gonna take a few more seconds off of the clock. And now it is time for DeMarcus Coxey to scramble. Come on, we got to have a block right there. The 5-year rebuild's on the line. We have 2 plays to get into the end zone. I'm waiting for the slant. I think we have it, and we do. We score the touchdown. I'll say this. I know there's a lot of times where I am far from clutch, a lot of bad reads, but I have come up big right there. They're not going to get this to go their way. And that's what it's going to take to get the Cowboys into the national championship. All the credit has to go to DeMarcus Coxey. He played fantastic there. And we're going to have to take on Wisconsin, so we're playing another Big Ten team. This is ridiculous. We're undefeated in the championship. They have 4 losses. They've still made it to the championship. And I guess this is our test to prove that we're the #1 team, but I can only imagine the outrage if 4 lost teams ever make it to the playoffs. We have to treat this Wisconsin team, though, like they're undefeated because Ohio State just almost knocked us out. Have we done that, though? Not really. At the moment we find ourselves losing, they're swatting it on 3rd and 3. And I want to go for it in this situation, which could be a bad decision, especially if we drop it. The Badgers have gone on to work it all the way down the field. But here's the thing. It's now 3rd and goal. I feel like we should be able to stop them, and we do. I really believe that our offense last year was better than this one, and that's only because of the receivers that we had. It's the defense that makes this team so great, though, and Doug Naylor is going to get us to like the 36. He was fighting for every extra yard that he could get right there. I'm going for the crosser route. I feel like we could put it over that DB. DeMarcus Coxey, even with his lower overall accuracies, does not play like it at all. They pretty much have this boxed. And I accidentally called our first timeout before this 3rd down, so we're in a spot where that could come back to bite us in the 4th quarter. It really hasn't so far, though. We just haven't been able to score like any points, and now they need a field goal to take the lead. I personally already think that they're in range. They had wide receiver screens on both sides of the field on this 3rd and 7. But coming out of the 2-minute timeout, they are going for it on this 4th and 5, and what are we doing as a zone there? They're literally just going to run the ball now. They think they have the win all sealed up. This is my fault, though. I shouldn't have taken that timeout when I did in the 3rd quarter. I didn't mean to. Wait, they're passing it on this 3rd and 11. I thought they were for sure just going to run it again, and there is no way. Their quarterback just ran backwards and lost them 15 yards. Hang on, I need to compose myself. They snapped it way sooner than they should have as well, and we just got off of the line with our defensive tackle, and then we had 2 dudes swarming him. I think we're going to be okay. As long as they don't pick up this 4th and 25, the game is pretty much over. But the one reason that they hurried it up, they didn't use a timeout, is because they still have all 3 of them to stop us. A 1st down ruins their chances, though, and that's what's coming right here. There's nothing they can do now. We have won the national championship in a very low-scoring game, and this feels great. We were able to go 16-0 with Oklahoma State. This is why you don't fire Mike Gundy, and I have fixed what I think is the most broken program in college football. Oklahoma State just needs to find themselves a DeMarcus Coxey. I mean, he cut back on the interceptions, half as many as last year, and what's made this run so impressive is we really didn't have that much NFL talent on this team. That's gonna do it for this rebuild, though. In my prison attire, I've been able to break through, fix another team, and make sure to check out some of my other rebuilds if you made it this far.